Hi, I had a question about an operating system. See, I have a PC right now, and I'm currently running Windows 8, but I don't really know if I like it. I wanted to know what you thought, if I should have Windows 7, Windows 8, or go back to XP.
I would not go back to XP at this point. That's really old. XP's 13 years old. Microsoft has taken it out of support, so you can't get updates for it. So definitely not XP. I wouldn't go farther back than 7. Vista was not so great either. So I would say the choice is Windows 8 versus Windows 7. You know, we just found out Microsoft is really in the middle of a kind of a change with their new CEO, Satya Nadella. He's kind of backing down on some of the things Steve Ballmer implemented. And I think part of this is that Windows 8 has been such a failure. Microsoft spent, it's hard to believe, but I just read this, $6.2 billion to market Windows 8. $6.2 billion to market Windows 8, and it still has a single-digit percentage of Windows users. So whether you like it or not, and we can argue about that, it is no doubt, without a doubt, a flop. That's a fact. Now, if you like it, I have nothing wrong with it. It certainly is superior to Windows 7 in some ways behind the scenes. They've improved many things. They build in now an antivirus. They build in anti-spyware. They have, I think, much better file copy routines. It's more secure in many ways. So I think if you can, it's the debate on Windows 8 is all user interface. Under the hood, there's no question. Windows 8 is better. It's newer. So the only debate, as far as I'm concerned, and I think most experts would agree, is, well, what do you think of this touch screen, these tiles, this modern interface? The thing that bothers me about Windows 8 is it's really two operating systems mushed together. It's a touch operating system suitable for a tablet with full screen apps and big icons and tiles, and it's swiping and swooping and all of that. That's one of them. And then the other is Windows 7, desktop, menu, except they took out the start menu, the thing that was the most important part of Windows 7. So it's a funny hybrid, and I think that's what really bothers people, and in some cases confuses them. There's two versions of Internet Explorer. We call it Metro for years, and then they got sued, and now they call it the Modern UI, but the Metro Explorer and the Desktop Explorer. Two different versions, and they on one of them, the address bar is at the top. That's where you enter in a URL, and the other one, the address bar is in the bottom. That's cuckoo. If you're going to have two versions, make them work the same, but they don't. One has Flash, one doesn't. It's cuckoo. So that makes users cuckoo. But if you can live with it, I would get Windows 8. In other words, if it doesn't bother you, get Windows 8.
I like Windows 8. I think the UI is great for the apps, but I did feel that it was sort of for phones and tablets.
Part of it is, part of it isn't. Now, you can install third-party apps that will make Windows 8 look like Windows 7. And even Microsoft is kind of moving in that direction. Windows 8.1, the update changed some things, brought back the start button, and they're apparently going to bring back the start menu in the next version of Windows, the codenamed Threshold, which will be out this is about spring next year, summer next year. So Microsoft even is going to move back. But you can install Classic Shell or my favorite Start X from Object Desktop from Starduck folks. Start X, and then they have Metro Mix. Will turn, even the Metro apps will become windowed, although I think they do that now in 8.1 anyway. You'll get a start menu back. Some of the things, it's just a user interface. So just to recap, under the hood, 8 is better. From the user point of view, it's different and weird, and if you can get used to it, I would recommend it. If you can't, then Windows 7's okay. It's a few years old. It probably isn't a great idea to move back to Windows 7. So so you have Windows 8 right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm using Windows 8. I'm using Windows 8 even in emulation in the VMware on my Macintosh. For a while, I was using Windows 7. I've moved to Windows 8. It's the current version. Why not use it? Even though I disagree with Microsoft's decisions. And by the way, the guy who designed it was fired. We think fired. He disappeared. He's like Lenin. No one talks about him anymore. Who? Yeah. Stephen who? Sinofsky? Who's that? Did he work here? Yeah, he designed Windows 8. Oh, that guy. He's a venture capitalist now, by the way. So there's some, I think there's some widespread agreement that Windows 8 user interface is bad. Part of the reason Microsoft didn't sell very many copies is business. It's a different thing than you and me, Ryan, because we're end users. We can adjust. But in a business, if you have 10,000 seats, 10,000 employees, and they're all using Windows 7, it's unlikely you're going to get Windows 8 machines because you have to retrain them. And that is not an insignificant expense. Everything's different. So you have to train, the user interface is different. So you have to retrain them. And business just has, for the most part, ignored Windows 8. That's hurt the PC industry considerably. PC sales plummeted, including Microsoft's own PC, which is why we think Satya Nadella is kind of abandoning devices. 8888 Ask Leo, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.